Hey everyone, this is Rishi from the Growing Club, and today I am going to start off a new series of videos called Creating a Drought-Resilient Landscape. As many of you know, California is in the midst of its worst drought in recorded history. And there's a lot of people who are wondering whether California will even be able to survive into the next few years because of how little water is falling down onto our mountains and into our rivers. Well, today I'm here to tell you that although we have a lot less water than we used to, we still have plenty of water for what we need. And what I'm going to show you today is how in our homes, how in the places that we live, we can reduce the amount of water that we use. We can reduce the amount of water that we waste, because we waste tremendous amounts of water, and how we can use the water to create landscapes that are resilient to drought. A drought-resilient landscape which feeds people, which feeds wildlife, which creates beautiful environments, which clean the air, which clean the water, which restore water to the ground. I want to show you what's possible even in our current drought state. How can we move from drought to drought resilience? How can we move from drought to abundance? So I'm going to take you around a tour of my family home here, the Growing Home, which you may have heard of. And I want you to also look out for other videos that are going to be coming up in this series, where we're going to take an in-depth look into some of the features I'm going to show you today on this tour. So let's get started. 6 years ago, the landscape that you see behind me, the abundant, beautiful, food-producing ecosystem that you see behind me, did not exist. This garden was just like all the other landscapes that you see along this street. We had our green grass, our decorative shrubs, and beyond that we struggled to grow almost anything else. Fruit trees we planted would die, flowers we planted would die. It was really hard to keep anything alive because we didn't understand soil, we didn't understand water, and we didn't understand how an ecosystem functions. So in 2009, we made the decision to completely change what we were doing. We decided that, it doesn't really make sense to have rain fall on our rooftop and then eject that rain out to the street while we pay for water from the city to water our grass. We decided it didn't make sense for us to throw away all of our green waste and then buy compost and fertilizer to keep our garden healthy. We decided it didn't make sense to pay for water to water grass that we couldn't eat. And so we completely flipped our paradigm, and that has what's brought us into this beautiful garden that we have today. The Growing Home is now a demonstration home, which is showing people that on just this small property, we only have 5,000 square feet of open space here where we can grow food. And in that 5,000 square feet, we have nearly 70 fruit trees. We're keeping chickens, we're keeping quail, we're keeping rabbits. We have not thrown away a single piece of green waste for the last 7 years. In fact, we've brought in other people's green waste. We've brought in tree trimmings, we've brought in horse manure, we've brought in food scraps, coffee grounds, juice pulp. We're actually taking materials that other people considered waste and bringing it into our garden where it can create healthy soil and where it can help us harvest the water that falls from the sky. Because of the changes that we've made here, we've done something quite incredible, something that most people would actually find a bit unbelievable. When we started this process 6 years ago, we used thousands and thousands of gallons to grow grass. Today, all of what you see behind me, which produces thousands of pounds of food a year for our family, for the local wildlife, which we sell through our farm, all of what you see behind me today uses half the water that we used when we had a lawn. So what you see is actually a drought-resilient landscape, an abundant drought-resilient landscape that is providing so much more for us than just food. It's creating a beautiful environment. It's cleaning the air around us. It's harvesting the water that falls from the sky. This is truly the future of the California landscape. And I want to share with you what we've done here because I want you to be able to learn and follow, and together we can be a part of the solution to this California drought. So I'm over here in our neighbor's yard, and I want to show you the difference that soil makes in the ability of our landscapes and our gardens to hold and store water. Okay? You can see behind me, this is the soil that we had in our own home just 7 years ago. Look at how compact this soil is. Even with a good strong strike into here, I can only get down about 1 inch with a steel tool. This soil is compact, it's dry, it's lifeless. When you can think about a plant's roots trying to get down into here, and you can see that they're not going to go very far. If I can't go that far with my trowel here, then a plant's roots are not going to get much further. Now look what happens when I pour water onto this soil. As soon as I start pouring, you see the water start running off. There's no absorptive capacity of this soil. The water is just running right off the surface. None of it is getting into the ground. None of it is getting into the roots of the plants. None of it is able to sustain the microbial life which feeds our plants' roots. So this soil is dead. There is nothing that is going to really grow and do well here. And you can see that by looking at the plants around me. They are just not doing well. Now look at this soil right where we're close to the sprinkler. You can see that the soil is moist just on the surface. In fact, they're watering so much that moss is actually growing right on the surface of the soil. And this is a great indicator for us that the soil in an area is compact here in Southern California, because moss does not grow in our soils. It's usually much, much too dry. But when the soil is really compact and we're watering too often and too much, and that water is not absorbing into the soil, you'll see this moss layer forming. And you can also see the streaks here, the streaks of where the water is running off. And so if I pour water onto this same area, they will follow exactly where those streaks are going all the way down. And we can actually see the water running off even when there's no water running, because we can see that pattern. So here is how you recognize where the water is flowing and recognize where you need to make a difference, where you need to implement some changes so that that water actually soaks into the ground. Now we're back in our garden, and you can just see the soil is completely different. The color is this rich black color. You can even actually smell from here, I can smell the difference in this soil. And when I'm digging into it, it's so loose. I don't need a trowel to dig into this. I can just pull this back and wow, look at that. I mean, just so rich, so black, so moist, and so full of life. There's so many microbes in here, and they are turning this, all the organic matter that we've added, into an amazing, rich soil. And when I look down in here, I can see worms. I can see little red wigglers. Even the composting worms, which most people keep in bins, are able to live here because the soil is so rich. It's like the entire garden is a compost bin. Look at the size of this worm. I mean, this is a fat, healthy worm. This worm has no trouble digging through here and finding plenty of food, and this is the indicator of the richness of the soil. Now let's see the difference that these worms make when we put water in the soil, when we have a rain, when we irrigate, okay? So like you saw in the other garden, the water in a compacted soil will run off. It will not soak in. But let's see what happens when we pour water onto this soil, okay? So I'm pouring it in, and you can see there's no runoff. It immediately is soaking in. As much water as I put in here, it sucks it up, it soaks it up, and it's gonna stay trapped in here because this soil has an amazing absorptive capacity, it has an amazing holding capacity, and no matter how much water you apply on the other soil, the plants will not get the same amount of water as they will get here. This soil makes the difference in the water holding capacity of my entire garden. The first step in creating a drought-resilient landscape is creating the healthy soil that I just showed you. That healthy soil is able to accept the water when it comes. It's able to accept the rain, hold it, and store it for our plants to use and for us to use. The second step in creating a drought-resilient landscape is to actually harvest the water which comes off of our hardscape, which comes off of our rooftops, which comes off of our patios, which comes off of our driveways, areas where we are going to get runoff. We need to harvest that runoff into physical structures in our landscape that can accept that water. And so what you're seeing here is what we've done with our rooftop water. This is our downspout, which collects the water from our rooftop. And previously, this gutter used to go into a drain right here and then out to the street. And so what we've done is we cut that gutter open. We have capped off the drain, and now that water goes out, and what we've done is we've dug a swale. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. But that swale captures and spreads that water around our landscape and allows it to sink in. Right here beneath me is our swale. So the swale is a long, skinny ditch. The bottom of the swale is totally level so that as water comes into it, it fills up evenly like a pool, and the water distributes evenly throughout the garden. And so you can see right by my feet that as the water has come down the downspout, you can see it filling up by my feet. And anywhere you go along the swale, you'll see that water filling up all at the same time, and then it's able to soak in to the landscape and move downhill, feeding water to all of our plants here. We soak it in at the top of the slope, and it moves underneath the ground all the way down our slope, watering all of our trees. Terracing is one of the most important techniques we can use on a steep landscape. When water hits the slope, the water sheds off, and if we build terraces, which are just steps in the landscape, then we can slow that runoff and sink that water into the ground. And so here at our home, we have a lot of sloped areas, and we've built a variety of terraces to keep that water in our landscape. So here in our front yard, we have some larger terraces which we made out of cut up concrete from our old patio. And now let's go take a look at some of the other terraces we have in our side yard. Here in our side yard, we used to have a pretty steep slope running down this whole western edge of our garden. And so what we've done over time is that we've terraced this slope as well, using recycled materials like concrete from our old patio and broken concrete and bricks that we've recovered from a local scrapyard. And so we've built these steps, and now when water lands on this terrace, either through a rain or through irrigation, the water doesn't run off, it sinks in. And we also capture the organic matter. So as leaves drop, as we apply wood chips and compost, none of those materials run off either. They're trapped by the terraces, and so we have, as a result, very rich soil that's building up, even though we're on a slope where normally it's hard to build rich, healthy soil. There's a lot of water that we use in our homes that is perfectly good for us to reuse outside, and that's the concept of gray water. When we shower, when we wash our hands, when we do our laundry, the water that we've used to do those things is still perfectly good for our garden. In fact, it's better because it's had nutrients added to it. It's had soaps added to it, and if we use the right soaps, soaps without salt in them, soaps without chemicals in them, then that soap is perfect for our garden. It's actually nitrogen, nutrient fertilizer for our gardens. And so we have a few different gray water systems that I'm going to show you. This is the first one. This is our outdoor shower. Here I am in my outdoor shower, and this is a super simple setup. All we have is a shower head attached to a water line, a simple walled structure around me, and all I do is turn on the water here, take my showers outside in the summer when it's nice and warm, and the water falls into the garden around me and waters the bananas and all the other plants that are growing right here. Here we have the second part of our gray water system. This is our outdoor sink, and we actually found this sink being thrown away, so we recovered it, we hooked it up to our water line, and now we use this sink to wash our vegetables. And when we're using this sink, the water flows directly out into the garden, and this area behind me is irrigated completely off of this sink's water, so it's irrigated completely off of wastewater. And when we're washing our vegetables, like our carrots here, and the vegetables have soil on them, soil that's really important for us, soil that's taken a lot of time for us to build up, then we don't lose that soil to the drain. We capture that soil back into the garden because the water from here is going back into the garden. The hose I'm holding here is the end point for our laundry to landscape gray water system. And out of this hose comes the water from our laundry machine. I'm going to show you the setup inside, but I just want to show you where it comes out. So I have a 30-foot hose that's attached to piping that runs from the laundry machine through the wall of our house and out into the garden. And whenever we run the laundry, the water comes out here, and I just put it next to a tree. So I'm going to put it right now next to our orange tree here. And now anytime we run the laundry, I'm watering my orange tree. I'm also fertilizing my orange tree with the natural biodegradable laundry detergent that we're using. We're here in our laundry room, and here's the other part of the laundry landscape gray water system. You can see here against the wall we've changed the configuration of the drain of this laundry machine. Instead of the water going directly out to the sewer, we have a little valve here. So when the valve is up, the water goes to the left, and this pipe takes the water out into the hose I just showed you. And when I put this down, then this water goes out to the sewer. So if I ever need to use any kind of bleach or non-biodegradable, non-organic soap, that water can still go out to the drain. We never use those types of soaps, so what we use is a gray water safe laundry detergent. This is the Oasis brand laundry detergent, and we also use non-chlorine bleach. So this is a hydrogen peroxide based bleach, and so these completely biodegrade in the soil and they don't damage our plants. So all of the water from this laundry machine is now used to water our fruit trees outside, and we have an extensive video about how to set up one of these laundry to landscape gray water systems here on our YouTube channel and on our website, thegrowingclub.com. Once we have our water in the ground, we want to make sure that it stays there. And there are two key tools that we're going to use to make that happen. The first is trees. Trees create shade, and trees harvest moisture from the air, and they keep the garden cool, they keep the soil moist, and that helps all of our other plants grow. The trees can actually even decrease the temperature inside the house. So since we've started our garden here, we now have almost 70 fruit trees, and the temperature in the house on a 100-degree day is almost 15 to 20 degrees lower. So we are no longer using AC to keep the house cool, we're using trees to keep the house cool. The second tool that we're going to use to keep our water in the ground is mulch. And mulch is any material, any organic material that covers the surface of the soil. And what we use a lot of is just wood chips, because we have abundant sources of wood chips in urban areas. So we cover the entire ground, open space, with wood chips, and wood prevents changes in temperature. It insulates the ground and it stops evaporation. It holds the moisture in the ground. The final step for a drought-resilient landscape that I'm going to show you today is the drip irrigation system. So when we're using sprinklers at home, we all know where that water goes. It goes onto the concrete, it goes onto the asphalt, and it goes onto the leaves of plants, not where the plants need it, which is at their root level. And so we've converted the sprinkler system in our home to a drip irrigation system, much more efficient, much more beneficial for our plants, because they're getting the water that they need and only the amount that they need. And so you can see this brown tubing here, and we've installed this drip irrigation throughout the entire garden, and this is keeping the soil moist and it's not wasting any water. What we've shown you today is the basic steps for how to create a drought-resilient landscape. This information, these techniques, this kind of intelligent design is the information we need to solve California's water crisis. We have plenty of water here in California. The problem is that we misuse, we abuse, and we pollute our water. And by creating systems like these, where we harvest rainwater, where we create healthy, rich soil, and we grow abundant, healthy, delicious food for ourselves and for all of the other living beings that we live with. When we create systems like these and understand how nature works, we can solve a lot of our problems. So we're going to be creating an entire drought-resilient gardening series that you'll be seeing on this YouTube channel and on our website over the course of the summer. So please look out for those videos. Share this video that you've seen today. And if you're in LA, go onto our website, thegrowingclub.com, and there you'll see our hands-on workshops that we'll be doing throughout the summer. Come join us. Learn how to build gardens like this. Learn how to create ecological systems like this, and spread that knowledge throughout our community. So thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our newsletter on our website, thegrowingclub.com, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time.